What's up, guys? Welcome to the Resellers Podcast with Daily Refinement and Tech and Sports. Today's conversation is going to be about the two ways you can make more profit on eBay. And this is spurred by a comment that you made that there's only two ways to earn more money, more profit, more money in the bank. You made that comment a few days ago. Maybe you could start with what two things actually net you more profit at the end of the day.
Yeah, so I think we were doing a live call, the one that I do on Tuesday night, and somebody asked a question along those lines of, how do you make more money on eBay? And there's only two ways to make more money on eBay, and there's only two ways to make more money in any business. It's either decrease your expenses or sell more items. And it's not just sell more items, because as you sell more items, sometimes you start to chase pennies, and it's very difficult to keep the economy of scale at the same profit margin as you continue to grow. So, that's something that we talk about a lot, that, my store makes more money at 30,000 items than it did at 20,000 or 10,000 or 5,000. But my expenses have also increased dramatically from when I had 10,000 items. 10,000 items I could work out of my house. I have no expenses. Now I have a
Mm-hmm.
warehouse. I have two employees. I'm buying a massive amount of items to feed this beast that I have, but there's still no comparison, because at the end of the day, the more items that you sell, the more money you will make. So it's very, very difficult to decrease your expenses, because we talked about it before. Expenses go up every single year. eBay fees go up. Postage goes up twice a year now. Gas goes up. Your insurance goes up. Warehouse goes up. People, your labor asks for a raise. Your workers are never going to come to you and say, "Hey, I know I've been doing a great job, but can you deduct my pay 50 cents an hour?" That will never happen. And with real estate going crazy right now, and people buying commercial real estate at such small cap rates, when those trade for a smaller cap rate, those rents are going to go up on those warehouses once they renew. So warehouses are going to go up. They will go through the roof coming up. So your expenses are always going to increase. So the only way to make more money is to sell more items. And I know that's like very controversial and a very like taboo, touchy subject. But bottom line, if you do not sell more items, eventually you will go out of business, because that straight line will always catch up and intersect with your expense line. It might be in 5 years, 20 years, or 100 years, but one day that flat line of you staying the same will always intersect with your expenses. And at that point, you become a business that's going out of business.
And this is something that you don't even know when you get a job. They try to give you a cost of living increase, but it's usually less than inflation when you work at a normal 9 to 5.
Mhm.
But you do the same work each year and get paid the same plus the cost of living. But that's not the reality of a job. If you've had a job before, they add more tasks to your job every year so they can make up for their increased expenses. I've never had a job that's literally the same every year. They make it harder every year. If you are in sales and you hit your quota, that's now the new quota. There's no, it's the what have you done for me lately at a job. If you're very fortunate if your job is literally the same every year, but that's not the case. Can't be.
No, because like you said, they will consolidate two or three jobs, and then you're the guy who does all three jobs for the price of one.
Yeah.
So it either gets passed on to the workers by not getting raises this year, or their benefits getting cut, or maybe they're no longer having full-time employees and everyone is part-time, or they pass it on to the customer, whether they raise the price or do something like that. So
Yep.
we have to do the same thing. Either we have to absorb the cost, we have to pass it on to the customer, or we have to sell more items, so that way we actually can absorb the cost. Because if you sell the same amount of items, you cannot absorb the cost. And there's only so much cost that we can pass towards the customer until we're no longer competitive with bigger sellers or bigger businesses that are able to afford to absorb all of these increases that come, month after month, year after year.
This is a fantastic segue into your analogy of the drugstore, where companies pay big dollars, or their version of promoted listings. They get the eye level shelf space when you're checking out. Here's a perfect example: Target. If you go to Target, the only candy available is Snickers, Butterfinger. It's the big major brands. There are zero mom and pop candy, chips, drinks. It's not. It's Pepsi, Coke, Butterfinger, Snickers. That's it. There are no small brands there because I'm sure it costs millions of dollars to have that shelf space. So the cost of the candy bar, though, is still like $1.50. It can't be $4 or $5 because then the customer wouldn't convert. It can't be that expensive.
But not only that, not only is it millions of dollars for those promoted listings that those companies are paid for, when Chris comes out with, Chris's all that in a bag of chips,
Yep.
and if he starts selling crazy and Target wants to pick him up,
Yep.
Frito-Lay, Pepsi,
Yep.
those companies say, hey, if you pick up Chris's all bags of chips, we're gonna pull all of our SKUs from your store, and you can go ahead and sell Chris's chips if you want to. And it's almost like the mafia. These guys muscle you out. They muscle into the prime positions, and that's every single business. And if you
Yep.
don't have leverage in your business on all areas, it is very, very difficult to be competitive and also to call the shots. If your business is playing by somebody else's rules, I think that's a very difficult position to be in. So if Chris has his all that in a bag of chips, he's still playing by Target's rules. He's still playing by Frito-Lay's rules, and it's going to be hard, if not impossible, for him to break in. He can break into mom and pop stores, but how many of those are around, and how many of those will be around in the next 5 years? It's the same thing on eBay. You might be able to break in on eBay with 1,000 items, 1,500 items, but those same type of mafia tactics, big stores, high volume stores, they're always going to muscle out the smaller stores. And, the big businesses will always survive over, a mom and pop. Unfortunately, as hard as it is to say, they will always survive and thrive because they can absorb all of these costs and they have leverage in all fields of their business.
This just happened on Poshmark. The brands came in, and Poshmark will adhere to what the brand wants to do. If you search free people just purchase the right to be the first search result. So
Yep.
you have to compete with that. On eBay, there are brands like that. I know OtterBox is very protective of their brand. Velcro you can't use. Those
P90X,
brands,
any of those.
yeah, they can purchase or they can legally own that word or that placement. And this is, you mentioned before the call that it's our duty to let people know that you can't do the same thing every year. As unpopular as that advice is, we're not, we're, like you said, we're not here to be people's friends. We want you to succeed. So you have to think of your store being bigger each year. And that either comes from you being more efficient with your time. And I would say Jack is a good example in the group of somebody who really kept costs low by doing it himself. That is the number one way to reduce the costs in your business is for you to do most of the work yourself and purchase bulk. And both of those are very high skill levels of being able to sit down, list 100 items in a day. That takes a high level of skill and focus. And the other one, being able to purchase bulk. And even Jack, as focused as he is, he has an entire storage unit of items that can't be sold or he doesn't have time to get to. You have an external way of getting rid of goods. I personally cannot purchase bulk. Even at the volume that I'm doing, I don't have the space. I don't have a secondary outlet for things that don't sell. I still have to cherry pick.
Yeah, totally. Like we talk about all the time, like if you buy in bulk, you have to have that secondary outlet. So for me, I have a dedicated brick and mortar store where I sell a bunch of awesome clothes, very cool items that, maybe won't sell on eBay as well. So I have the dedicated brick and mortar store. So I can do bulk sourcing. I can take 1,000 pieces, 5,000 pieces, 10,000 pieces. Does not matter because I have the avenues to sell them. So like you're still buying a tremendous amount of items, but every single item you pick has to be eBayable. There is no
That's right.
other way to sell it. And that's fine because you do have that outlet to buy it, but it does become more difficult because you have no margin for error and every single item that you buy has to be able to sell online. So for me, since I am buying at such volume and such scale that the people that I do buy from, I have a tremendous amount of leverage with those guys because I do require them to only sell to me. And since I am buying 1,000 pieces a week, 1,500 pieces a week, 800, 500 pieces per week, if I say, hey, everyone's taking $1 haircut across the board because, you know, my costs have went up. So the only way for me to make more money is to decrease my cost of goods. Since they are exclusive and they sell to me only, they either have to take the haircut or they have to reevaluate their business and sell to somebody else. And it might be, you know, unpopular to say that, but that's business. Business has no emotions. It does not matter. If at the end of the day my business is not surviving, somebody needs to take a haircut somewhere. Either someone needs to get fired, someone needs a reduction of hours, or these guys need to go from $4 to $3. And if you still want to sell me $20,000, $30,000 worth of merchandise per month, it's going to be at $3 each now. That's just what we're going to do going forward because that's what we have to do. And if you do not have leverage in your business, a lot of people end up working for their supplier. And if you only have one supplier, they negate the rules and you play by their rules.
Mm-hmm.
So it is always beneficial to you to have more than one supplier and get to the point where you're buying so much volume from those people that they work for you. All of these guys who source for me, they work for me. If I find out they sell to somebody else, I got a big problem because I'm over here spending $20,000 a month with this guy and he's selling $1,000 to somebody else. That $1,000 better be worth it, or else that verbal contract we have is null and void, and there is no shortage of people who are lined up willing to sell to me because they know I have the ability to buy a tremendous amount of items, no questions asked, whether it's eBayable or to sell in the brick and mortar store. So that is a humongous advantage I have over just about any other used clothing seller on eBay, is that I have the capacity to list 250 items minimum per day and the capacity to sell 250, 300, 500 items per day at the brick and mortar store. That is a tremendous advantage over a lot of other sellers. And that gives me the opportunity where if the post office increases fees 2 times per year, I do not care. In fact, I welcome it and it excites me because every small store, every single year, there's less and less and less competitions because I've built the machine that can afford to absorb any cost that gets thrown at me. For example, if your warehouse tells you tomorrow, hey, stuff hit the fan, I got to double the rent, you could potentially be out of business tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
If my warehouse guy comes and tells me, says, hey, I got big problems, I got gambling debt, I gotta double the rent. That's no problem. Double the rent. I'm happy. We're all good. So like, if one thing that doubles can put you out of business, you're in a bad spot, man, a totally bad spot. So you have to get to the point where you're doing such scale that nobody can put you out of business except for yourself.
And in eBay, this is the magical thing. Your own labor cost doesn't necessarily have to go up each year. So if you do most of the work yourself, you can make a high margin and last for a really, really long time. If you are a 10 listing a day person, but you do it at home and you're not paying no warehouse cost, no employee cost, no VAs, you go buy the items yourself at a garage sale and flip it yourself, you can survive almost forever because now you have the advantage over a brick and mortar that has to have employees, utilities, all that extra. And you can't reduce the eBay fees. You can't reduce the shipping costs. So it's really just labor and cost of goods. And cost of goods can't get lower than zero if you're out there busting your butt at garage sales. Your cost of goods is essentially zero. You're just buying stuff that people are donating.
I'm going to disagree, man, because you said if you do 10 items per day, you can essentially survive forever. And I disagree with that 100%. Because if you do 10 items per day and you sell 8 items per day, 7 items per day, 5 items per day, when first class mail is $8 a package, you're out of business. So the 10 item a day model, maybe in 5 to 7 years, is no longer a viable model anymore, because when first class mail is $8 or $9 and thrift store prices are now $8 or $9 for a t-shirt or a polo shirt that you sell for 20, eBay fees are now up slightly. You know, after promoted listings, after you eat $4 for first class mail, because ain't no customer in the world paying $9.99 for first class. there's no
Mhm.
money to be made when you're selling 8, 7, 6 items per day. There's no money to be
Mm.
made. So right now, that's fine. But just know that gravy train may not be around forever. And I personally do not think it will be around forever.
That's interesting. So you're right. If the cost of goods for a used item gets close to $10 and the price of shipping gets close to $10, that makes it impossible. You would not be able to sell any items. You would only be able to have your own garage sale or do Facebook Marketplace, which you can't scale.
Right. And, the caveat that people will argue is, well, if inflation goes up, then the price of our items will go up. But
Yep,
nobody is paying $45 for a Life is Good shirt.
that's right.
Like, Life is Good is capped out. Like, a regular polo shirt is capped out. No one's paying $60 for a polo shirt.
Hmm.
Like, there are some that people will pay that, but like bread and butter items, there's no inflation in bread and butter items. So, like, costs are going to go up. And especially with more competition that comes every single day, the price is going to go down. So, like, we're going to get squeezed from 100 different places if you don't start getting your business together and your situation lined up. That's my personal opinion. And, if we do this podcast for 5 more years, we can revert back to this discussion and see if I'm right or wrong. But I would bet my bottom dollar within the next 5 to 7 years, a lot of small sellers will get squeezed out.
Man, that's tough news because most of the people who listen to this podcast are small sellers. So, what kind of action plan do we put together for people? Is it just the mentality that you have to grow each month and that's just the reality? And if you have that mindset, then you're going to be ahead of everyone else. So, just get on this side of the wave.
Yeah, exactly. Have that mindset and be ahead of everybody else. Cause like there's gonna be millions of sellers year 5 when postage is so high
Hmm.
that are gonna be standing there with their hands out and they don't know what to do. Like we're having the discussion like 5 years down the line to be prepared for. And like that's the
Mm,
stuff that I think about. And like me and you, we both started 10 listings a day.
yep.
And then we went up to 15, then we went up to 20. That's how everybody starts. But like if you want to be in this business long term and not just for 1 year, not just for 6 months, not just for 2 years, you have to have a lot of forward thinking to know what's on the horizon and what is coming. So for me, I'm thinking 5 years ahead, 7 years ahead. How can this business still be viable? I know it's viable next year. I know it's viable next month. I don't have a problem with that. But is this business going to be viable in 7 years or in 8 years? Nobody knows. But the question last night I remember was because we were talking about other businesses that I have that I already know have a life cycle. Like my brick and mortar store, when I was setting up the racks, I knew one day I will be in there taking down the racks. Like this, the brick and mortar store will not be around forever. One day I'm gonna do the walk of shame and I'm gonna break down the store and the store is gonna be done. So the question was, do you think eBay will ever end? And my answer was, I don't think eBay will end, but I think maybe business how we know it today will end for a lot of people. And that's the discussion that we're having right now. I think eBay will be around forever unless it gets bought up and consolidated or something like that. But
We won't,
business
we
how
not,
we know it today
yep.
may not be there and may not be viable. And that may put a lot of people out of business.
This is a great question from Yesenia, which is what is the absolute lowest net profit per item you recommend to survive? Because this question actually pops up a lot. Like, what size store do I need to survive? And the answer, I think, is always bigger, unfortunately.
I subscribe to that one, and that's just not a guy with a big store who's saying that. It's just I know I'm making more money at 30,000 than I did at 20, and I know
Yep.
any cost that can get absorbed or any cost that comes, I can absorb easily. I know that. I know both of those things, and I'm able to sleep tightly for the next 5 to 7 years. I know my business is planned out and thought out to absorb any increase for the next 5 to 7 years, so I don't have to worry about that. As for the smallest profit per
Yep.
item, that has a lot of different variables because
Hmm.
if you're doing massive scale like Walmart, you can
Yep.
do 1% profit,
That's right.
but like you can't do 5% profit or 10% profit when you're selling 10 items a day. You may as well go get a 9 to 5 because it's not worth the time and the effort to make the kind of money 10% at a time in the used clothing space. Like if you're selling gold bars and making 10%, that's fine. But like in the used clothing space, there's a lot of variables. It just comes down to a matter of what your expenses are, whether you have warehouse labor, all of your cost of goods expenses, what your personal bills are, how much money you need to reinvest into the business,
Hmm.
and what you're happy having left over at the end of the day, week, month, or year. That's ultimately what it comes down to. And for me, some items that I sell for $9.99 that are sold for promoted listings, I only make $2.60. But my average sale price is in the 20s. I make all the money I need to make on $20 items, $25 items, $30 items, $50 items. I sold a few $100 items today. I already make all the money I need to make there. So every item I sell for 18, 16, 14, 12, 9.99, that's all just money, cash flow that goes back into the business and allows me to expand and keep buying. Even if it's only profit of $2.60, where else on the face of the earth can you have $4 cost of goods and make $2.60 at your very worst profit bucket? So for me, I'm fine doing that. Now, if I had to survive on $2.60 profit per item, I need to sell a boatload of items per day. But because I do not need that to survive and run the business, those items become extra, just the icing on the cake, because I already make the money that I need, 20 and up, 30 and up, 15 and up, 18 and up. That anything under that, just chalk it up and we just keep it rolling into more items.
I'm going to give you guys an example. Earlier, I was sourcing and we came upon a brand, Daily Ritual. I've never sold it before, so we looked it up. The first 5 results were promoted listings, $9.99, brand new, free shipping, free returns. So we're talking, this is a 10% promoted listing for sure because they showed up number 1 through 5. Okay, that's an expensive promoted listing. That's not a 1%. So they showed up at $9.99. So I just looked it up. Assuming they got the item for $1, they do first class shipping at $5. These look like these were not shirts. That's 40 cents profit on $9.99 if they got the item for $1, which they might have paid more than $1, but let's say they paid $1. They made 40 cents on $10. You're competing against this person on
Yeah,
eBay.
and they might sell 1,000 items per day, and 1,000 items per day
Yep.
at 40 cents, $1, $6, $8, $12 here and
Yep.
there. It
It
adds
adds
up
up.
over the course of all the sales. So it's the same for
Yep.
me. Like even though my worst profit margin is $2.60, like that still adds up if
Hmm.
I sell 20 or 30 items per day at that profit margin, because that's still like
Hmm.
$75 a day just strictly on 9.99 items when I'm already making money everywhere else. So that may be a similar situation for them. But even if they were losing money on that, it doesn't matter because they're still getting increased visibility across their entire store. Like there's a lot
Hmm.
of variables that go in to different type of business models and different type of listings. And for that brand right there, if they want to dominate that brand, maybe they do that for a long enough time and then they ease back on the promotions, then they raise the price and they still have those powerhouse listings that they're able to convert and then actually make the money. So like those are people that we are competing with on a day in day out basis. And like you said this morning, you know, those buyers go to that store because they got the deal. But those buyers don't know that they got the deal from that guy. They just think, "Oh, I got a deal on eBay." So
Hmm.
those buyers are coming back on eBay looking
Yep.
for the deal. And if you don't have the deal, they're going to buy from the person that has the deal.
Yep. Then that's the part that if since eBay doesn't allow you to market to your customers as easily as your Shopify store, your brick and mortar, you get somebody's email when they come in the door. eBay, they distribute the traffic evenly, actually. you only get X amount of traffic for how many listings that you have. And you got to do the best job that you can. The nice thing is that because eBay does that, and they don't just give 100% of the traffic to the biggest sellers, which they could do that. They could just say, whoever is the biggest store, they could allow you to sell 1,000 to 2,000 items a day in your 32,000 item store, but they don't do
Correct.
that.
But I'll tell you this, something that I saw today on my browser now, once you click the main search bar on ebay.com, it shows you the recent searches
Mhm.
at the top. It shows you your saved searches, and then it shows you your saved sellers right on ebay.com. So I have a massive amount of people that follow my store with repeat customers. All they have to do is click my name on ebay.com now, and it's going to bring them straight to my store now. And that's something that I noticed today.
I have that. Save so it goes recent searches, saved searches,
Yep.
saved
So if you
sellers.
buy from me all the time,
Wow.
you don't even have to search eBay
Hmm.
no more. Just come straight to the store.
Wow.
So what does that tell you?
I guess it tells you that you need to have people follow your
It tells you
store.
that you need to provide a quality item at a quality price. And now no longer is it the buyer got a good deal on eBay. Now it's the buyer got a good deal from you and they can come back. So to
Hmm.
me, I welcome that. That's 250, 300 people every single day that I provide a good product for at a good price. And they don't even have to search eBay no more. Just search my store. Just come back to me.
I think this is one way that you can get repeat customers. You can have a uniform
Uh-huh.
store. We've talked about this on a few different episodes, but the buying experience is almost exactly the same when you go to your store. If I'm looking for Vineyard Vines shirt, you probably
Yep.
have one.
Several. And that's the thing about just buying the same brands over and over and over again. I have guys that come every single week. I had a guy today, he bought 34 concert shirts. Every single week he buys 30, 50, 100 concert shirts from me. He lives in Texas. I think he sells at a flea market. That's fine with me. I do not care. I have guys that come and buy sports shirts from me, like big Miami Dolphins fans. They come every week and buy a Dolphins shirt, 2 or 3 Dolphin shirts. I have repeat buyers every single day. And now that it's even easier to get repeat buyers, that could be a total game changer for a store like mine. Combine that with the new push of codeless coupons, could be a total game changer if you totally utilize the tools that eBay are giving you. And if you have a small store, remain a small store, it's going to be very difficult to retain your buyers and have a lot of repeat buyers. But every buyer that buys from me, they know that I have that brand over and over again. They had a good experience at a good price, come back to me, and we can have the same experience day in and day out.
Now, I want to talk about something that will help you grow your store. Um, in the group, we talk a lot, in our Facebook group, we talk a lot about consistency, building habits. But I think the number one thing to build consistency is a schedule. And people who work for themselves are kind of allergic to a schedule because it's like if you control your own schedule, why not just work whenever you feel like it? But if you look at the people who are really doing well on eBay, they really do have a very set schedule. Your day is almost the same.
Yeah, my day is the same every single day. And, like I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. If you put in full time effort, you will get full time results. If you put in part time effort, you will get part time results. eBay
Yep.
is the only business that you could do that is a direct correlation between success and the amount of time/effort that you put into the business. My tree service can have the best uniforms, the best equipment, the best trucks, the best advertising. Everyone is well trained. Everyone shows up to work, and the phone might not even ring today. But if you show up to work, you're the best trained, you're putting up the best listings every single day, offering a quality listing at a quality price, eBay will reward you for your consistency. There is no other business that will reward you for being consistent and putting in full-time effort. My brick and mortar store, it's there. Everyone knows it's there. We have cool stuff. Nobody might walk in the door today.
We have to shout out our boy Isaiah in the group because he did a time audit and he came up with he spends 5 to 7 hours a day talking to people. And so he used to list after doing that. He switched it up, listed first, he still had time to do that, but it's hard to do that if you start your day with the socializing.
Yeah, man. If you start your day with the coffee break, the newspaper, and the morning news, that's probably also another hard way to get your day started. If you just go and you just tackle the day and you get everything done, you
Mm-hmm.
have the rest of the day to do whatever you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on both sides of that. I've been on the side where I get on the day and I tackle my work and I'm done and I have the rest of the day to do whatever I want to do. And I've been on the other side where I procrastinated. I've read Yahoo News, read a bunch of articles, and I'm not done with my work until 2 o'clock in the morning. It's way better to get up, tackle your day, put in that full-time effort or part-time effort. The effort is doing the best that you can in the time frame that you set day in and day out. It's way better to do that, get it out of the way, and then do what you want after that. It is way worse to BS all morning and then try to play catch up. That don't work as well.
That concludes the free section of our podcast. Every episode is between 1 and 3 hours at patreon.com, the Resellers Podcast. It does cost money and take time to build these podcasts. That's why we have a paid section. But we are on episode number 35, and we appreciate you guys stopping by to listen to our content. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you.